They are as cold as ice, and the first thing you notice is not what they say, but what they don't say. There is a distance in them that does not need words to be understood. It sits in the way they look at things, in the way they respond, in the way they hold themselves back, even when the moments call for warmth. Being around them feels controlled. Nothing spills over. Nothing escapes by accident. Every reaction seems filtered, as if they have learned over time that showing too much is dangerous or unnecessary. You might try to read them, to understand what is happening beneath the surface, but they do not make it easy. At first, it can be confusing. You might wonder if they like you. You might think you said something wrong or that you are missing something obvious. When someone is warm, you feel it immediately. When someone is cold, you feel the absence just as strongly. It makes you question yourself in quiet ways. But their coldness is not loud. It is not aggressive. It does not push you away directly. Instead, it creates space. Too much space. The kind of space that makes you unsure how close you are allowed to stand emotionally or otherwise. They listen, but they do not reveal much. They respond, but they do not open up. Conversations with them can feel one-sided, not because they are not present, but because they only give what they choose to give, and that is usually very little. You might find yourself trying harder without realizing it. You explain more, you ask more questions, you try to bring warmth into the conversation, hoping it will be met halfway. Sometimes it is just enough to keep you there, just enough to make you think there is something underneath, something that could grow if given the right time or the right approach. And that is where it becomes complicated. Because when someone is as cold as ice, it does not always mean they feel nothing. Sometimes it means they feel a lot, but they have learned to hide it well. Maybe they were hurt before. Maybe they were misunderstood. Maybe they decided at some point that being closed off was safer than being open. But understanding that does not make it easier to deal with. You cannot build something real on guesses. You cannot rely on what might be hidden beneath the surface if it never shows itself in a clear way. You begin to feel like you are reaching into something that does not reach back, and that feeling can slowly wear you down. Still, there are moments, small ones, a slight change in tone, a softer response, a longer pause that feels less distant and more thoughtful. These moments can feel important, even if they are brief. They can make you believe that the coldness is not permanent, that there is something warm beneath it waiting to come out. And maybe there is. You cannot be the one who melts it alone. It is easy to fall into that role without noticing. You start thinking that if you are patient enough, kind enough, consistent enough, they will eventually open up. You tell yourself that they just need time, that they just need someone who understands. There is something true in that. People do open up when they feel safe, but safety is not built on one person doing all the work. It requires effort from both sides. If they remain distant, if they continue to hold back no matter how steady you are, then you have to face something difficult. Their coldness is not something you can fix. You can understand it, you can respect it, but you cannot change it unless they choose to change it themselves. That realization can be hard to accept because part of you may see potential, you may see what they could be if they let themselves open up. You may imagine conversations that go deeper, moments that feel warmer, a connection that feels more balanced. But potential is not the same as reality. What you experience now is what exists, not what could exist someday, not what you hope will appear if everything lines up perfectly, but what actually is there in front of you. And what is there is someone who keeps a distance. You have to ask yourself how that makes you feel over time, not just in one moment. Do you feel seen? Do you feel understood? Do you feel like you can be yourself without constantly adjusting? Or do you feel like you are standing in front of a closed door waiting for it to open? There is nothing wrong in wanting warmth. There is nothing wrong with wanting connection that feels mutual, where both people share, respond, and meet each other in the middle. If you are always the one stepping forward while they remain still, the balance shifts. The balance shifts in a way that is not sustainable. At the same time, it is important not to turn their coldness into something personal. It is not necessarily a reflection of your worth or your effort. It is more likely a reflection of how they have learned to move through the world. Some people build walls without even realizing how high they have become. Those walls are not taken down quickly, and sometimes they are not taken down at all. You can stand near them, you can speak through them, but you cannot remove them from somewhere else. But you cannot remove them for someone else. If you decide to stay, you need to do it with clear eyes, not with the belief that things will definitely change, but with an understanding of what is present right now. You can appreciate the moments they do show, but you cannot depend on them to become something consistent if they have not shown that they can. If you decide to step back, that is not failure. It is not giving up. It is recognizing what you need and choosing not to ignore it. There is a quiet strength in that choice because it means you are measuring value based on how much someone is willing to give. You are not waiting indefinitely for something that may not happen. You are simply responding to what is real. People who are cold are not always bad people. They are often careful people, guarded people, people who have reasons for being the way they are, even if those reasons are not visible. But understanding them does not mean you have to accept a dynamic that leaves you feeling uncertain or unfulfilled. Connection should not feel like constant effort without return. It should not feel like you are the only one bringing warmth into the space. Over time, you will notice what their coldness does to you, whether it makes you withdraw, question yourself, or try harder than you should. Those reactions are important. They tell you something about what the situation is doing to you, not just what it is. And that is what you need to pay attention to. Because at the end of it, this is not just about being cold, it is about how long you are willing to stand in that cold without losing your own sense of warmth. Because at the end of it all, this is not just about being cold. You can be patient, but you should not disappear in the process. You can be understanding, but you should not ignore your own needs. And you can care about someone even deeply without accepting a connection that does not meet you where you are. They may be as cold as ice, but you do not have to become cold just to stay close to them.